it's time to welcome TJ back again to talk about our thoughts on memories of going to the movies. And TJ has lots of stories to tell, I'm sure, about, because she was in charge of the movies at my very favorite movie theater ever, at Linwood Movie Theater. So I'm so happy to welcome back my friend, TJ.
We thought that we might explore, Janet and I came up with this idea, movie memories, whether, some of the more stellar films that you've seen. One of my favorite topics is, what's the first movie you remember seeing in the movie theater? And anyone want to take it? I got one.
Okay.
Okay.
My first movie was The Incredible Journey. If you remember this Disney film, it's two dogs and a cat who get separated from their family, and they have to find their way back to the family. And 1963, so I was 8 years old, and my cousin, who was 4 years older than me and ever so worldly in my eyes, took me to the movies for the first time. And it's a great adventure of these animals surviving the wilderness, crossing highways, all the perilous things that these creatures are going to encounter. And then at the very end, hi Kitty, at the very end, the family is picnicking, and the animals are tired and exhausted, and where this family is picnicking, up over the hill comes the young dog and finds his family, right? And there's much rejoicing. And then they look back to the hill, and sure enough, here comes the kitty down the hill into the bosom of the family. And they look back up the hill, and there's no older dog. And they look again, and there's no older dog. And time is stretching. And that's when I lost it. And I just burst out crying in this whole theater. My cousin was mortified. She grabbed me by the collar, marched me up the aisle, and stuck me outside the theater door, where I sobbed into the carpet. And people left the auditorium, and they would stop and touch me on the shoulder and say, honey, it's okay, the dog showed up. But it was too late. I was always too deep in my misery to appreciate it. And my cousin swore she'd never take me to the movies again, and she didn't for 4 years.
I have a memory of a Disney movie that I'd like to share. The movie was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I wasn't born when the movie was made. It was released in 1937, but there was a re-release in 1944 because the Disney studio was in financial difficulty, and they knew that they had a hit with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So it was probably in wider release, and certainly and I was living, I was around about 5 years old, and I'm pretty sure this was the very first time that my parents took me to a movie theater. We were in Presque Isle, Maine, and I don't know what time of year it was, but Presque Isle had long winters and lots of snow around from October to April or so, and I have memories of that snow. But this movie, the high point for me, the part that I most vividly remember, was not the arrival of Prince Charming and the awakening of Snow White at the very end, but prior to that, the Wicked Queen was, she fled, and maybe she may have been chased, but she was certainly on the run in mountainous terrain. It was kind of a Walpurgisnacht scene with stormy weather and everything. And eventually she fell off a cliff, and that was the end of her. So evil was banished. But I had a nightmare the night after that movie. But I do have vivid memories of the sound of Snow White's voice, and each of the dwarves and all their stuff, and all. It was such a vivid beginning for my experience in the movie theater.
Disney really managed to capture so much in his films with the vivid characters and the vivid colors and the action. And I mean, look at what he did with Bambi, right? I mean, how many kids were a little traumatized when Mama, he was pretty magical in his touch.
That whole thing with the fire, I remember the fire. I don't know how old I was when I saw it, but I remember the fire, sitting in the theater, and I don't know if I called out or not, but run or something like that. It was dramatic as all get out. I remember that. That was not my first movie, I don't think, but that was I remember seeing this humongous conflagration on the screen.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
The other one, though, the other trauma, yes, Bambi's mother dying was a trauma, but I don't know when, where, or how, but The Witch and Wizard of Oz was also a trauma. Those were my two traumas that I just...
Yeah.
Margaret Hamilton. And to think she was a kindergarten teacher. She was really a kindly lady. But that makeup just turned her into a witch.
She was a great friend of a friend of mine, Wes Wayer, who was sort of a Renaissance guy over in Seattle. And she's from around here, Margaret Hamilton.
That's really cool, Sheila.
Yeah. He was good friends. So he's got a whole thing in his book, I remember the name of the book. But anyway, I can find that momentarily. But I cannot remember my first movie because we went to, my brother took me. He's 10 years older than me. Okay. So bless his heart, he still took me to the movies. I do remember going to see all of the ones with Nancy Olson and, oh my gosh, who's the guy who played the sailor and the soldier and everything in the movie. In every movie that there ever was about the war. Not William Holden. No, it wasn't Holden. Oh my gosh, I just had it on the tip of my tongue too when I was going to talk about that. Well, I will bring back to that one when I could, because I could see him. Anyway, I was madly in love with him. My brother was madly in love with Nancy Olson. And so that's why we went to the movies to see the movies. I don't remember anything about the movies at all, other than that. But I do remember one movie that he took me to, after which he swore to God he would never, ever, ever, ever take his little sister to again. And that was The Thing, the original one. The one, the John Carpenter, not John Carpenter one, the very original one with the guy, the guy who played in Gunsmoke.
Oh,
people.
Jim Arness?
Yes. James Arness. Yeah, he played the monster, quote unquote, in that. It was not as close to John Campbell's movie or a book story as the second one was of Carpenter's, which was straight down the line as to what Campbell wrote. The only reason I mention that is because Campbell, my brother, the same brother, was married to Campbell's daughter, and so I knew John Campbell quite well, and but he was a weird guy, very weird. But anyway, so he took me to see The Thing. Okay, frightening movie. The one thing that when I lost it completely is when the door opens. It's black and white. Opens, the door opens, and out comes this hand. Apparently, I screamed and I hid under the chair or the seat in front of me. And that's when my brother said, never again. He's taking Sheila to the movies.
Oh, nice.
And by the way, it was William Holden. I do believe
Yes, it was William Holden.
William Holden with Nancy Olson in all of those movies. So we were both satisfied by those movies too.
I
that's
have
fun.
an opposite story of Sheila. I didn't go to the theater until I was probably 12. I came from a big family, 7 children in rural Ohio, and my parents didn't have a car big enough to take us all to the theater. And we just didn't do it. I mean, my dad just worked too hard and whatever. So we moved to California when I was 10, and a little town named Saratoga, which is close to San Jose, California. It was completely different back in 1963. And I remember going to this little tiny independent theater in Saratoga, and I saw Gone with the Wind.
Oh,
And I had read the book several times because my mother had a signed original copy of it. And
wow.
So I know it was pretty special. And I just remember being just totally blown away. I just loved that movie. I mean, it was the cinematic, you know, the fire, the love story, and the cursing on this, you know, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
You know, but I remember as a 12-year-old girl thinking well, that's pretty impressive. So, so anyhow, so I did see movies on television and Disney, you know, that kind of thing. But
yeah.
Big screen, I was about 12. So.
Excellent. And what a movie to start with.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty wonderful. So there you go. That's my experience.
One of the first movies I saw was The Sound of Music, which I just looked up, was released in 1965. I can't believe that. We didn't have as many movie theaters when I grew up in England as you do here, but so the whole family, my father had to buy tickets it was so popular. You couldn't just turn up, you had to have tickets. So we turned up and I went to see The Sound of Music, and it obviously made a big impression on me because let's go forward, 30 years. So here I am on Bainbridge, and my kids grew up here. And when they graduated, they all were told they had to go to Europe. They were given a ticket, an airline ticket and a rail ticket, and told they couldn't come home for 3 months. So here's one of my sons is in Austria, and he's with his friend. And of course, they've run out of money. So they decided they wanted to go on a sightseeing tour up into the mountains. So Alistair looks at all of these lists and sees a tour called The Sound of Music. Well, he knew I talked about it. So the two of them booked themselves on this tour, and it was like $20. It was the cheapest tour. And he got his mind, he gets on the bus. He knows nothing about the movie because he absolutely refuses to watch the movie because his mother talks about it. And they go on this tour to all the places where they filmed it, and everybody on the bus sings the music. And of course, his 2 young guys who are like 19 years old, they got full of middle-aged people. At the end of the tour, Alistair said, well, I did enjoy it. So, cool. Yes, because I love The Sound of Music, and I also loved the one that you saw, that Gone with the Wind. And so my kids to this day have never seen Gone with the Wind because their mother thinks it's wonderful. They decided that that's those things they're never going to do.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh.
Did any of you ever see Quo Vadis?
Oh,
The
I
original? Yeah, okay. I saw that when I was a kid too. That was another one my brother took me to. Yeah, I'm thinking back to that one. Also, the panoply of all of that. That was an incredible movie.
Yes. We went in France. It was outside. We sat on a bench seats, and it was all in French. And it was a little hard to follow, let's face it, when you're about 10 or 11. But I remember the movie and the swords.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone seen the movie? And this I saw on television, but anyone remember the film Invaders from Mars from 1953?
Not, which one was that? What was
Right?
it?
Well, I saw it on television when I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And it's the one where the little boy's laying in bed and he sees a spaceship come down and land in the way back of his backyard.
Yeah,
And he tells his dad about it, and his dad humors him and takes him back there to show him that there's nothing there, when his dad gets sucked down into the ground like quicksand. And the kid comes running back to the house and is like, Mom, oh my God, this is what, right? And dad shows up, and he's dad, but he's not dad. And he's stern, and he tells his wife everything's okay, and he's not. And one by one, the authority figures are sucked down into that hole. His mother, the cops, and every time this kid tries to tell somebody that there's a problem, this authority figure becomes zombieized. So, and so this thing really scared me because, yeah, right. And man, this is a lot bigger than this kid was, right? This is a big problem. And so in the end, with all that happens, and you do get to see these, ooh, they look like they're made out of lava. These lava men, are the aliens, and they put a chip into their brain with this needle that comes down, right? I mean, nowadays we just get vaccinated for COVID and we've got the chip in us, right? Okay, that's a joke.
yeah, oh yeah. Thanks, TJ.
And so at the end, not that this will spoil it, because the movie itself carries despite, but you know, it's morning. The kid wakes up and it's like, what? And he looks around, and you know, his mom and dad are happy and all, and it's like, oh, it's just a dream, right? And then the spaceship comes down past his window into the backyard, right?
Yeah.
Well,
What's the name of that one? Invasion from Mars?
Invaders from Mars, 1953. William Cameron Mendes directed the film, and he was the set designer for You're Gone with the Wind. So that was his big claim to fame. He was a great set designer, but he directed 2 films, Things to Come with Raymond Massey, where humankind is going to have to change or annihilate themselves. And that's an interesting one too. That's it. But Invaders from Mars. So here's the thing. So here I am, I go to bed and I'm scared to death after watching this stupid film. Okay. And as much as I try to tell myself to fall asleep and there's nothing out there, there's something scratching the gutter that has me agitated, that it could be these lava aliens. And pretty soon, before you know it, I'm shouting and screaming, and dad comes in and he takes me out to the living room, and he and mom try to quiet me down, and it's like, okay, go back to bed. Nope, it's not working. I start screaming again. Well, when he comes in mad on the 3rd or 4th time, now he's beginning to look like he has a chip in his brain. So it was, and that was about 2 or 3 nights of sheer terror. And man, I'm lucky they didn't pack me off to a boarding school or something.
I was very fascinated with the other one was the invasion of the planet, the plants, the plants.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Body Snatchers, yes. And that came out in the middle 40s too. And all of those, or 50s, those were all because of the Russian communist threat. That was an absolute reaction to the fear of the communists taking over, and the thing in the head, right? Et cetera. And yeah, the second one, the Donald Sutherland one, that the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, was equally good.
I
But that
agree.
first, I remember the first one was black and white, frightening movie. Yeah, I'm going to have to get that Invaders from Mars. So that sounds too good to
Yeah.
me.
Actually, Sheila, I'm going to show it at BEMA in January. It's going to kick off our sci-fi series.
Oh, is
You're
it?
doing a sci-fi series?
We're going to do a sci-fi series at BEMA in January. Da, 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 da. So don't rent it,
Okay,
but come and
I
to
will
see it on the big screen.
I will.
And
Oh, yeah. It's
I-
much scarier.
I'll put on my big girl panties, I promise, and I'll try not to scream. So yeah.
Are you
And
going
in
to
fact,
do the original The Thing of James Arness?
no, we're not doing that. We're only going to do one classic, well, maybe two classics, but then we're going to do some newer stuff. One is, and you've seen this, Sheila, The Vast of Night.
The what?
The Vast of Night. That's a newer film that came out where they did it in the style of old-fashioned sci-fi. I thought it was really wonderful.
Okay.
So
I've seen it.
A little radio station and that business with, yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
with the DJ and the young girl. And
Yeah.
I thought
Oops, sorry.
oh, go ahead, Maria.
I was going to say, can I make you an offer if you're doing that? I have written a 10-minute play that's absolutely 100% composed of lines from old sci-fi films and titles and stuff. It's called Plan B. And I'm associated with Island Theater. It's 10 minutes. If I got the actors, and got it rehearsed, Steve Stolle or somebody would direct it and get the 3 actors. It's 10 minutes, but every line, I had to fill in a little bit, but all the characters,
Maria,
it's
you're
all
on.
sci-fi. One of the the 3 characters are Dave and Worth and Lilu, the one from the Bruce Willis one. And then there's Monster Zero, Gort. I mean, almost every line is just little connections, and otherwise I've got, and I can offer to you. I'm sure Steve or Stolle or somebody would direct it for me.
My gosh, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you dinner that night. I'll buy the cast dinner and the bistro that night.
Okay,
So,
all right.
oh, that would be great fun.
It's
before the
January, right? Sometime in January.
war. Great fun.
Okay, should I go with my most memorial film thing? I don't. This isn't the early one. This is the one that absolutely changed my life. I mean, literally changed my life. It's Fellini's 8½, and I was in college. I went to some art cinema thing, and I was late. A couple minutes late, and the film had started, and I kept waiting for Guido at the end to show up on the psychiatrist's couch. If you know the film, I was totally confused through the whole thing. I thought, oh, well, he'll just wake up on the psychiatrist's couch, and he didn't. And it just blew me away. I ended up, jump ahead many years, I published an article in a film journal comparing Fellini's Stardust Memories with 8½. I ended up with a PhD in USC in cinema. I taught Italian cinema in La Spezia, Italy. And it just changed my life. And of course, all the Fellini films, and I know that I ended up teaching Italian cinema, I ended up teaching, American film genres and all things like that. But that literally was just some kind of an aesthetic moment just changed. I'd been a dance major. I don't know what to say. It just literally changed my life. I know it inside out and backwards. In all the Fellini films, but that was the one film because I don't know what happened to me. Something happened. So life changing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Did you see Martin Scorsese's tribute to Italian film, My Journey Through Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Yeah.
I also saw the musical. It was terrible.
Wait a second. I can't even, that doesn't even parse.
9. But that 8½, has ended up in the top 10 films of everybody. And of course, that led to Ingmar Bergman. It led to Kurosawa. It led to all kinds of different European films and all kinds of stuff. But it was like a path into an incredible world that I didn't know about. I just had no idea.
Yeah, he was definitely one of a kind and started the imagination.
Hmm.
Yeah, after the Second World War, right?
Yeah,
Everybody was
neorealism.
busy capturing, the war spirit, and he went into dreamlike worlds and made all the difference for us.
Yeah, no, he was a neorealist, with all of them, but then he went way beyond, way beyond. Yeah.
Well, Richard, do you have a movie memory, my friend? Unmute and tell us.
The first movie that I saw in a movie theater was in 1950 when I was 5.5 years old. And we were on vacation in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And we went to see King Solomon's Mines.
Oh, gosh. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the two vivid memories that I have about that is that it was the biggest room that I had ever been in up to that time. The first time I was in a major movie theater. It was in the largest movie theater in Atlantic City, so it was a rather large one. And the big screen, I remember the elephants and the natives, and it was in full color before we had color TVs, of course. So it was a wonderful experience. Everything about it was terrific. Wow. And that's my first memory. Yeah, it was great. And 8.5 was a movie that I really enjoyed also. I saw that the first time in Montreal, but
which one is that, Richard?
The one,
8.5.
Fellini's movie that she was just talking about.
Yeah.
I loved it also. So, yeah, we have some good memories of old movies or movie theaters. I remember the invasion of the Body Snatchers. I went on a Saturday afternoon with a friend to the movie theater in my little hometown in suburban New York, where for 25 cents, you could see the movie and get a popcorn back then. I got so scared that I persuaded both of us to leave the movie halfway through it.
Oh my goodness.
So the first time I saw it, I only saw half of it.
Oh my.
How old were you, Richard?
Oh gosh. By then I must have been 12 or 13. Mm-hmm. So it was just, I just got scared. So
that's what the movies are good at.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to your festival of science fiction.
Oh, hurrah. Good.
Yes. Oh, that's going to be great.
Well, yes, I'm getting the rights to it now. We have, in fact, we're starting up the film series, Sheila, in October with jazz films that sort of marry into the whole Earshot Festival that BEMA does with bringing in jazz musicians for the month of October. So that should be fun. November, the theme is going to be Indigenous life. So Native First Peoples films and stories in November. December, I'm doing a series I'm calling Make Me Smile. And these are going to be light comedies or a light drama with heart, just something that's nice and eases us into the holiday season, wherever we are with COVID at that point, right? And then January is our sci-fi.
That all sounds so much fun.
Can I ask?
You just have to come. That's all there is to it.
Oh, absolutely. Can I, in the Indigenous ones, are you going to do New Zealand, like U2?
That one's not on the list.
Or
We
Once
have,
Were Warriors?
we're doing Boy from the Maori culture.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know that one. Yeah, yeah.
Boy. We're doing Atanarjuat, the Fast Runner. I haven't seen that since 2000, 2001, and I want to see it on the big screen again with
Yeah.
that expansiveness of the tundra. And I can't think what else is on the program because I can't find my notes, which means maybe none of this will happen after all.
I doubt that very much.
Doubt that very much.
Yeah, we will not hold you to that. I wanted to ask people, one of the things that, and I think Maria, you were the one who were mentioning the French films.
Yeah.
Back when, there were 3 French films that have made such an impression upon me from the time when I saw them young, high school. When I was in high school, we went into New York City, our French class went in and saw Forbidden Games, which I don't think anybody, have you seen that, John?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
did, you saw, wasn't, those 2 kids and, with the cemetery, and it was during the war. It's an incredible film. I mean, I have it on tape, believe it or not, even though it's illegal. I do have it on tape. And it's the most amazing film still to look at. Another movie that
Wait, tell me the name of that one again, Sheila. Forbidden
Games.
Games.
Yes, and it's one of those that I'm so glad, John, that you saw that, because it was oh my goodness. I will never forget those 2 kids. It's sad, but it has to do with the Second World War, being in France. These lines of people walking down the road, escaping from the bombing, and then the bombing. Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, get a chance to see that. Go ahead, John.
Hanging on to that, French films. How many of you have seen Children of Paradise?
Oh, yes.
That is, and I saw it, I watched it recently in the Criterion Collection, and there's a documentary, apparatus connected with it. I have a story about it. Good friends of mine some years back, their 2 sons, they sat them down to watch Forbidden Games. And those kids couldn't get the pace of it. It was,
It was very slow. Yeah.
But the stories around the making of that film are fantastic. It was done under the conditions of the French occupation, and it was done in secret, not in Paris, but in a provincial town. And they put all of those sets and everything together and made it happen. And Arletty is such, you've never heard French spoken more beautifully than in that film. And the story, it has a resonance with the occupation and the snitch figure. I can't remember all the details and the names of the characters. It was so delicious to watch it again just recently.
I'm going to have to bring my tape out and watch it, John. See it again. I think it's one of the more important films about war, to be honest with you. Anybody who puts together or curates a film anthology of war movies, that's got to be in it. Just got to be in it, I think. The other 2 movies that I remember mostly was the original Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
Yes.
Which
Jacques Cocteau.
Yeah.
oh my, the original, which goes from black and white to that at the end where it's in Technicolor. I mean, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful, beautiful film. I love.
You know
that.
what I remember, Sheila? I remember the arms in the tunnel holding the
Oh,
candelabras.
the candles, yes.
Yeah, and they would turn as you walk down the, yeah.
Yes. It It was so, I've seen that so many times. It was absolutely, I do own that. By the way, I did not retape that one. I bought that one. So it's legal what I have in my possession.
You have a
And
legal
the other one is Diabolique, the original Simone Signoret,
Yeah.
the original one, which is frightening as get out. Have you all seen that one?
No, not the first, not the original one.
Yeah, this would be, yeah, there was Simone, I think it came out in the 40s, 50s, something like that. Oh my gosh, it was unbelievably frightening. I'm trying to remember I don't know exactly when that came out, the original. 55, as Clouseau.
Mhm.
And it's I will never forget her walking down that passageway with the window with the draperies fluttering. She's just walking down. I thought, oh my God. You don't know what's going to happen in that movie until you got to watch it to the end.
Speaking of French films, and also in connection with jazz, the Louis Malle film, Elevator to the Gallows.
Yes.
Miles Davis soundtrack in that is a very important. That predicted or preceded the recording of Kind of Blue. Miles was in a place where he was ready to try anything, and the whole thing. And speaking of walking, Jean Moreau's walking through the streets of Paris with the available light camera work. It's just, I've seen it now three or four times, and it's always just hypnotic.
What's it called, John?
Elevator to the Gallows, or it's a Louis Malle film. If you look at the history, look at the list of Louis Malle films. It's up there. It's very early in his career.
Yes, 1958.
Yes, yeah. I didn't see it at the time, but it's historic. Yeah.
Well, if you look right in the background here, there's a little French poodle sleeping whose name is Zazie dans le métro.
Oh yes, really.
She's right there, sound asleep.
Yeah.
Another great French film.
Yes. In the way of French films about World War II, Army of Shadows is a very important one. And that is by Jean-Pierre Melville.
Army of Shadows?
Army of Shadows. And Simone Signoret has an important part in it. It shows how cruel, of necessity, how cruel the resistance was, and how they had to maintain absolute secrecy, and you had to do what you were told to do. So there's all kinds of darkness in it, but it is really serious. It was, when it first came out, it was rejected. It was the greatness of it, the importance of it wasn't recognized. It was just too graphic and too revealing.
That's not a documentary, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's all
a narrative.
Okay. I don't know. It's based on memoir or what. I haven't read that far into it, but that's important.
Where could we find that, John? Do you have any idea?
I'm sure it's on the Criterion Collection.
I've been
subscribing to their streaming service and enjoying things. Not everything they offer, but it's been an important part of my evenings.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Days, yeah.
Can I piggyback on to Beauty and the Beast, Sheila?
You may do that anytime you want to. I love that movie.
The newer version, when it came out, the Disney version, right?
Oh, yeah.
The cartoon version. My daughter was 4. Mandy was 4 when she saw it. and 4 or 5, and it was I think her first movie, and she's sitting in the seat beside me, and when the movie opens, Belle comes down the road singing on her way to the market. And Mandy, I don't think Belle was 4 seconds into the song when Mandy grabbed the seat in front of her and said, "It's Mandy." And she just embodied Belle so completely. And she loved the movie. I think she was at the theater every night I worked it, right? She just loved that movie. Our friend, Mickey Molnaire, made Mandy a gold lame ball gown in the same style as what Belle danced in the movies, and made it for Mandy for Christmas. And we went over on Christmas Eve, and Mandy opens this box, and she just squealed, and she goes, "Mom, help me into this." And we run off to the kitchen, and I put her in it, and she just danced her way into the party guests in this outfit. And she wore that thing everywhere. In fact, it's packaged for her and under her bed upstairs for when she has a little girl. And then to think all those years, right, that was a memory that you can file away. Cut then to Mandy going to prom on her senior year, and we go to Benita's in Silverdale, and I asked, what do you have in mind for a ball gown? She goes, I'm thinking yellow. I don't know what style or anything. So I'm looking through the yellow gowns, and all of a sudden I see Mandy hauling a mannequin down toward the fitting rooms and says, "Mom, you better get a salesperson." And she hauls this thing down, and she comes out in this yellow, beautiful, form-fitting, sort of has this across the shoulders, and and she's standing in front of that tri-positioned mirror. And I looked at her and said, "Oh my gosh, honey, you look like Belle." And everybody started crying. And she wore it, and all night long, everybody said, "Mandy, you look just like Belle from Beauty and the Beast."
Oh, how wonderful.
Isn't that? And Mandy went to the prom with Gretchen Bohannon's son that year. And I said to him, "How does it feel?" And he says, "I'll be Beast to Mandy's Beauty any day."
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I told Mandy to marry him. I mean, right then and there, marry this man. But she didn't.
Yes, he's right on.
But I mean, I love these little stories. I mean, on the one hand, movies, truly some are throwaway movies, right? Or just a nice bit of fluff at the right time. But it's really interesting to see how they capture our imagination and live within us, or in Maria's case, how they guide us on our life's path.
Right on.
They're not trivial, are they?
No, not in the least. Not in the least.
Well, there's a book out there called Hollywood Does History, and our whole sense of history, Gone with the Wind, the resistance in France. I want to put a word in for the Italian resistance, Rome Open City. I mean, there's no way we would know those histories. And, some of it's accurate, some of it's not. Or you said Les Enfants du Paradis, the French film in Marseille. There's just no way we would know these at least we've got some history. I mean, it may not, and just look at the East European cinema, all that stuff that happened, and the East German cinema. I mean, we would not know that because, I mean, yeah, you read an article here or there, but awful lot of our sense of history and what we know is from film.
Right.
Mhm.
And sometimes an article can't capture the people and how this directly affects the common man on the street and his family. And I think that's important anytime we see history.
I think, that brings to mind the most recent one, and that was in the Metro shorts called The Gift.
Oh yeah, the Manhattan Shorts. Yes.
With the father and the daughter going to buy the vacuum cleaner.
Refrigerator.
Yeah. Again, you would not know, like you're saying, Maria, you would not know necessarily what it was like to have to pass as a Palestinian into the Israeli and back and forth. How, I mean, we read about it, but this was so, it wasn't was not a doc, but it could have just as easily been a documentary.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. The Gift, yeah.
Your series you had before, though, there was, I didn't remember which series it was at Bema. It was a lot of stuff from the Mideast and stuff those films were incredibly interesting. When was that? It's been years because of COVID, but I remember just mind blowing with those films that you were showing.
Well, when you mentioned Children of Paradise, I went to Color of Paradise, which was an Iranian film about the blind boy and how his father is trying to get rid of the blind boy because his father wants to remarry into a higher caste, and this having a blind son is just not going to make that happen. Do you remember that one, The Color of Paradise?
I remember that.
Exquisitely beautiful movie. Just so deftly done. Anyway, yeah.
Around Midnight, that's the film. It's kind of it was, jazz purists didn't like it. It mixed things up. It was in some ways built around the experience of Bud Powell in Paris, and it was in some ways and the great performance by an actor, also a great musician who was playing tenor saxophone. So it was in some ways just a distortion, but it was about a relationship between a French jazz fan and this sort of lonely great musician, American musician in Paris. Made by Louis Malle, I believe. Anyway.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you have seen Summer of Soul.
Oh, that was a great, yes. I'm so sad that it came and went.
Yep.
You can see it on video.
You can see it on video.
That's to be treasured, really.
The time I'm still, I just get chills remembering Marla Staples and yeah.
No.
Please, Tony. The other Mahalia Jackson singing Precious Lord.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry. I was in absolute tears watching that. I've seen it twice, and every time it's like that. I mean, Nina Simone. I mean, all the great.
The song was great.
Which is so. I mean, and nobody ever heard about it. Nobody heard. I didn't know about that happening in Harlem. Did you?
I was out of town. I was out of the country at that time, but
it was at the same time as Woodstock, exactly the same time as Woodstock.
Well, it preceded Woodstock, and then it got called the Black Woodstock.
Exactly, Summer of Soul, and you can get it on. You can get it streaming. Don't miss it. Just don't miss it. It's a long thing, and the guy put together this.
The artist Questlove really did a great piece of work.
Indeed,
because there's so much that was from the present day reminiscing, and people who were in the audience that he found the Harlem residents, and the people in the audience who said, "I never saw so many Black people together in one place." What a shame that, and this was John Lindsay's New York. This was really, this was a piece of New York history, and it's such a shame that it kind of, history moved on in the wrong direction.
Oh, I don't know if you could ever get a hold of it, TJ, to ever show it, but truly.
Try to get it, because
Oh.
it belongs in a theater. It belongs on a screen.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know. I'm making notes.
I happened on it in Linwood, and there were 5 people in the audience with it.
What?
With one more night to go.
Of course, I didn't go, but I'm sorry.
Well, let me give you one recommendation here, and it's one that I've talked about before. It's a film called Summertime, where it's short vignettes in LA right before COVID put us in lockdown. This guy got this filmed, and he went into a poetry class, and those young people who he wanted to get to know more and wanted to showcase their poetry or their dance or their song or whatever. And he's got about 20 short vignettes that loosely tie together sort of one 24-hour period in LA and what these people are experiencing. And the movie is called Summertime. I really liked it. I'm not a big poetry fan, but I loved watching these young people express themselves in this manner. There's a gay gal on a bus who does a sort of a quasi rap to the bus, and there's a homeless charismatic young man who the camera keeps coming back to from time to time with his story, and this is all each of these own people's poetry that they get to put out there in front of the camera and interact with others with. And it was wonderful. It's called Summertime, and you can view it now if you go to siff.net.
Yeah.
And click on Summertime. It was special.
Well, I'll ask Steve about that.
I have one more story, and it's out of tune with the things we've been talking about and all the joy and stuff like that. But it's a story about just how indelible some experience of film can be, and also something maybe that well, here's the story. This is not in a theater, but shortly, within a year or 18 months or so of the time we moved to Bainbridge Island in 1945, right after World War II, there was a family gathering, and my father's oldest brother, the father of my cousin Garney and my cousin Sonia and 2 younger sisters. Some of you might know Garney, and some may even know Sonia from the Catholic Church, her Catholic Church involvement. Anyway, my Uncle Phelps had brought a projector to this family gathering in the house where my father grew up off of Torvanger Road. It was a small group, but a small room, but there must have been 15 or so people there. And what Uncle Phelps had was very raw footage from the liberation of Auschwitz and the other
Oh my glory.
very raw footage. And I don't know that he had seen it ever before, but he'd shown an interest. I think Phelps and Leona were living in Seattle at the time, and they were involved with probably a Catholic, a liberal Catholic parish or Catholic priest. And this priest, probably part of Catholic relief services, had this film footage. And Phelps showed these big canisters, one after another. It just, here I was, 5 or 6 years old. It just made such a profound impression on me.
Yeah.
And I've remembered it to this day. And I've looked, when I've seen documentaries, I've wondered, will I see what I saw then again? And I haven't had that click, but just certain images just stuck with me. And here's the end of the story. I've talked with other people I know were there. My parents, my cousin Sonia. I think I may have talked to Garney about this. They can't remember that it ever happened.
What? You mean that it was shown?
They can't remember, you know, they just, I guess that it was such a downer experience and maybe so embarrassing to Phelps. I don't know, because I was just watching as a kid. I don't know but you know, the point is there's some stuff that you just can't deal with.
Yep.
But somehow I was open to it. I can't figure that out, but it probably twisted me in some way.
Yep.
Wow, what an interesting story, John.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right, John. Wow.
Huh. All right, now you have to see Summertime, just to get a different image in your head.
That's good. That's right.
And that's a good one to close on.
Yes.
So unless anybody's got anything else they would like to add, I'm going to say we hope to see you back again, maybe in the fall, TJ. We can think up any theme about movies would be good. And we will look out for your Beamer series.
Thank you, Janet.